Hello Gauchos and welcome back to Blue Couch Banter, our newest talk show. Last week we brought on some familiar faces that you're used to seeing in this studio. As we near finals week and stress levels haven't leveled out since midterms, what's one thing that you do to relax while studying? Listen to music maybe? This week we bring on someone that you might recognize from being on stage.
Hi, I'm Daniel Marella. I'm a fourth year music studies major at UCSB.
So Daniel, I heard that you had a concert this past weekend. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? What happened? How did you feel?
Yeah, so on Sunday I had my senior project. Every music studies major has to do some sort of a project, and I decided to do a lecture concert about 1991 to 2006 alternative rock music. So I gave like a 20-minute lecture, and then I gave a concert with 7 original songs and had a small Q&A, and I think it went pretty well.
Yeah, so how did that feel, lecturing?
It felt a little weird because the people in the audience were like all my best friends, so it was like I was just telling them a story that I'd been researching for 2 years. It felt a little bit weird being pretty professional because I would say like my vocab and vernacular is not very professional, but being on stage in front of faculty and staff, like I had to be pretty focused and academic. But I thought it went well. I had 2 note cards. I kind of improv the whole thing. It was a lot of fun.
Wow, that's amazing. And obviously this didn't come out of nowhere, so can you tell us a little bit about your background? How did you become a musician? Did you always know you wanted to do this?
Well, when I was like 7 or 8, there's a band called Rock Band that came out. Like, it's like Guitar Hero. I went to my cousin's house and he showed me, he's like, well, here's a drum set. Like, you got to play with this with us. And he's like 10 years older than me. And we played, and I told my mom, I was like, no, we need to get this game. And my mom was like, no, it's rated teen. And my mom's real strict, real stickler for that. But then I would go over to my cousin's house like once a week, we'd play, and then she saw us play, so she let me get it. And after that, I was introduced to music like The Killers, Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, 80s to 2000s rock. And from that moment, I had already been playing piano for a little bit. And I told my mom, can I please get a drum set? And she was like, no, because it's loud, your sister will hate you, our neighbors will hate us. And then I literally every day for probably half a year, I was like, Mom, can I please get a drum set? Can I please get a drum set? And after a while, she finally relented, and I started playing the drums when I was 10, and then I picked up the guitar like my freshman year of college and bass freshman year of college, and then really during quarantine is when I honed in on those skills and got the rust off of the piano chops, and then yeah.
Yeah, did you have lessons or are you self-taught?
I had lessons for piano and drums, but guitar and bass, it's all self-taught.
How was that like?
A lot of trial and error, a lot of frustration, but honestly, like, there was a lot of fun being like really, really bad, because like having that struggle was something that I hadn't struggled with, because learning something completely new is something you don't do like a lot of times. So being 20 or 21 at the time, picking up a new instrument was honestly a lot of fun, especially during quarantine when the alternatives were drinking or doing other things that weren't good for you. So
yeah. So you talk about it being in quarantine, so did your neighbors hate you for it?
I would say my neighbors hated me for it. I'd say my housemates were a little bit annoyed because it was just really bad guitar playing for a few months, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And so where did you gain this inspiration with when it comes to your music?
I mean, I love the 1975. I love Green Day. Those 2 are like my 2 all-time favorite bands. That era, 1991 to 2006, alternative rock is like kind of like my golden era, and I think it's the golden era of modern music. It's such a unique era, and like when I write my own music, it's all from past experiences, relationships, personal struggles, personal successes, just kind of all over the place. And definitely get inspired by people that are my age doing things that are better than me, because it's like if they can do it, I think I can do it too. And it's really, really inspiring, especially in IV. There's a lot of really great musicians right now. There's a lot of bands, and it's a lot of fun to be around.
Yeah, so does that community foster any inspiration of the IV bands and that kind of sense of musicians that we have here?
I think so. So I'm in the jazz band here, and a lot of the jazz musicians branch out into the rock and roll scene in IV, which is really, really cool. I get to see these guys who in an academic setting will play a bunch of these jazz standards with me, and then later that night on a Tuesday night they'll be playing with their band, playing heavy rock. And then you also see a lot of bands that are on more of the punk side where it's like, okay, these guys just picked up guitar probably 6 months ago, can play 3 or 4 chords, but that's all you need to have fun. I mean, all the Ivy bands are out here having fun, and that's just, it's just great to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would you describe your genre of music?
My genre, I would say it probably falls into like the alternative rock-ish kind of genre. I hate the term indie rock because I think it's severely misused today, because I feel like a lot of people associate indie rock with like the soy boy kind of skinny white boy type music, but a lot of those people are signed to major labels and to major conglomerate companies, so it's not really independent music. So I would say, like, you know, me being alternative music but also legitimately indie rock, like a lot of these Isla Vista bands and a lot of these bands that are coming out of LA, a lot of these bands that are coming out of Australia. So yeah.
And you talk about, you know, in your songs you write about relationships, and how do you keep that boundary of privacy and like really showing your true emotions?
I would say most of my songs are about ex-girlfriends, so I don't really care about the privacy, if I'm being honest. I have written only one song about my current relationship, and it was a happy song. So in terms of like privacy currently, definitely I don't like to write about what's happening currently, because then, you know, things can get twisted, things can get misconstrued. But yeah, a lot of my past relationships, past experience is what I like to write about, because I'm far removed from those situations now, so I know how I felt 5 or 6 years ago, and now I can try to encapsulate those feelings sonically and lyrically. So
yeah, and so what does that process look like when you first begin writing to when you finally record? What does it look like?
So I write everything in my room, and everything that I make comes out of just me, my computer, a couple like music recording technology devices, and then that's it. So I sit down, sometimes, well, before this album that I'm coming out with, I would write every day, whether it's like for 10 minutes or for 5 hours. I just wanted to do something every day and see if there was a spark. So usually I sit down with my guitar, and I kind of just noodle around for a little bit, and then if something catches, I'll record it, and then I'll try to write a melody to those backing chords, and then if I like that, I'll play a bass line, and if I like that, I'll do the drums. And then lyrics is the hardest thing for me. I think I can write, if lyrics weren't a thing, I think I could write hundreds of songs in a year. But because I just feel like I sound so stupid.
Yeah.
It's just like, if I think about like all my favorite songs, if you just read the lyrics, it sounds so dumb.
Yeah.
And then, the hardest part about writing songs is just being like hypercritical. Because like I'm very serious about music, but I can't be serious about myself. I can't take myself too seriously, because I don't really think I'm a serious person. Mm-hmm. But like I take music making very serious, and it's kind of hard to like balance and find that boundary of like, okay, like I really love this, but also at the same time I'm not taking myself too seriously, because I do it for fun.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm not necessarily pursuing it, which it would be fun to pursue it, but yeah.
And do you have anyone help you along in this process, especially once you get down to the recording parts?
So for songwriting, I typically write everything by myself. All the instrumentation is done by me. This album I'm coming out with, though, I went down to a studio in North Hollywood, and I worked with 2 guys, one named Max Beanert and another guy named Carter John. And Max was the producer, so he recorded everything that I played. He actually played a guitar on a few tracks. And then Carter is, as we speak, is doing all the post-production stuff, so polishing it, mixing it, and then sending it off to a master house before release. So yeah.
And what should we expect of this upcoming album?
What should we expect? Hopefully good music. Honestly, like, I'm just really proud of what this sounds like and all the effort I put into it. I think, like, in our generation, people measure success by like stream count, download count, like record sales, like, but honestly, like looking back on the Sunday performance, seeing like 60 or 70 people that like I really care about being there for me, like just to be able to create a community around music I've already accomplished what I want to accomplish. And if people that I don't know can relate to these songs that I'm making, if it's 5, if it's 500, if it's 5,000, like that's great. But in sonically, I think you guys should expect some songs really loud, really fast-paced, and some that are pretty reserved, pretty drawn back, pretty sad. So, yeah.
Awesome. And are you going to continue this endeavor past graduation?
We'll see. I have an interview next week with a pretty big film composer in LA. So that would be pretty cool to work with him, you know, write scores for movies and stuff like that. But I think music making is probably going to be forever part of my, at least a hobby.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we might hear you in a new Disney movie is what I'm hearing.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, we'll see.
So moving past your music, congratulations on graduating this quarter.
Thank you.
Very big accomplishment. So if you could go back to your freshman year self, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, I was a 4-year Division I swimmer here as well. And it's super, I mean, Division I athletics is super serious and it's taken very seriously here. I think if I was a freshman, I would tell myself you should hang out with people that aren't just swimmers. Because you kind of fall into a trap of, you know, swimming is everything, athletics is everything. Everything you do is dictated, like literally everything you do is dictated. When you wake up, what you eat, when you eat, who you're hanging out with, what time you're hanging out with them, when you have to leave. And I love everyone on my team. I love the guys. I love the girls. But I would say, you know, make friends with music people. Make friends with people in the art community. Make friends with people that aren't involved with athletics, because you're going to get stuck in not necessarily a bad place, but you're going to get stuck in a place where you can only grow so much. So
which song would you recommend that our viewers check out from your songs that you've put out?
Probably Beat of the Summer. Came out last April 2021. So yeah.
And what's it about? Can you give us a little synopsis?
It's about my current girlfriend. That's the one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said it's happy vibes.
Happy vibes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So maybe Song of the Summer?
Maybe Song of the Summer. It's definitely got some beach vibes, so yeah.
Awesome. All right. Definitely check that out. Hopefully we'll be able to hear new music soon.
Yep.
Is there an estimated date?
First single should be out next weekend. Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend. Well, that is very exciting.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. This is great.
Of course. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us on the Blue Couch today. Music is such an important part of our lives, and please keep us updated for your next performance. Until next time, this is Pricila Flores with UCSB TV.